Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Winning Proof Unscripted. And we are so lucky today, fortunate, I will say, because I have as a guest Mike Kelly with Right Path Enterprises. And instead of reading a bio, I am going to welcome Mike and then have him tell you something about himself. So welcome, Mike. How are you?
Michelle, I'm doing great, thank you. I'm really happy to be with you, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I look forward to, all that we're going to discuss, and hopefully your listeners will find one idea that will excite them, and they'll be able to go out and apply it to something in their lives.
Absolutely. I hope for the same thing for myself. I always get so much out of just these episodes because I always learn something. So instead of reading your bio, as I said, I want to just start with who are you and what do you do?
I am a family man, so I am married to my wife, Melinda. We've been married for 30 plus years. I've got two sons,
Mhm.
and I'm also a man of faith. I love God, and my life hopefully is a testament to that. And in addition to that, I love serving my community. I am involved in a number of nonprofit organizations in the Cincinnati area where I live, but also where I'm from originally in South Carolina and North Carolina. I'm involved with some organizations down there as well. So I'm a family man, a man who loves God and people, and also a man who really is passionate about serving his community. And you ask me also, what do I do? Well, what I do, I'll sum it up. I like to sum it up this way. I'm really passionate about helping business owners and corporate executives and other leaders succeed, and not just succeed at business or their professions in their professions, but also succeed in life. And first, we want to define what success really is. So I help with that as well, because oftentimes that word success sometimes it's defined in ways that aren't ways that we would like for it to be defined. It's done for us. So I like to focus on that as well. So that's what I do in my businesses. Right Path Enterprises, we're a consulting company, executive coaching firm. We help clients all over the country, really. Most of it's online. We work together with that particular organization. I focus mostly on businesses and nonprofits. My wife focuses on education. She does a lot of data analysis and curriculum design and that sort of thing. And then I also have an hourly fee only financial planning practice, Kelly Financial Planning, where I don't sell product. I don't receive commissions from brokerage houses and mutual fund companies. I charge my clients an hourly rate to build life and financial plans that align with their dreams.
Oh, that is so great. And it's nice to have multiple streams of income and multiple interests within one enterprise.
Yes, yes, it is. And it all aligns with my mission. And my mission really is to utilize my leadership, financial, and communication skills to help my family and others grow to become all they're designed to be while I continue to grow myself. So that all aligns. And it's like one mission that I'm on.
Oh, that's awesome. And I have a question for you a tiny bit later about working with your wife. And first, I applaud you. You don't see marriages a whole lot nowadays that last the distance. And that's really the first thing I saw and noticed on your website was that you've been, married a long time, 30 plus years, well over 30 years. And you and your wife work together and you do separate things, but I was just so glad about that. And then when I saw you were faith driven and a man of faith, that was even more exciting. So I'm just excited that I'm getting to talk to you today.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. And I
Yeah.
am glad to be with you again.
So you state on your website that some challenges that might affect the company are lack of motivation, underperformance, feeling pressured and unbalanced, and team disengagement and low morale. So when you go into a company that might be experiencing some of these things, speak to the first thing you do when a company is experiencing one, or have you seen a company experiencing all of these things all at the same time?
Well, you probably heard the phrase that culture will lead strategy for lunch. So a lot of companies, they'll build a strategic plan or they'll have this desire for a company to be a certain way. So they build a strategy, the quote unquote plan, and then they expect things to just happen. Well, if the culture is not addressed, you can have the most beautiful strategic plan in the world. You're not going to be able to achieve it because all of those things that are related to it are done through people. So one of the first things I like to do is talk with the top leaders in the organization just to get a feel for who they are, what motivates them, how are they showing up every day when it comes to the culture that they've created, the people that they're leading. And what I often find is that there's a leadership issue. There's a leadership issue. And we often start by working with the top leaders, getting them to look in the mirror. And I'll give you an example of one situation where I had an opportunity to work with a company that was having a lot of challenges with people. People were basically disengaged. They were getting results, but they were nowhere near what they could have been. So I had an opportunity to meet with a few of the leaders. We had a meeting, and I asked a lot of questions, which is something that I enjoy doing as a coach, asking questions about culture and the business and that sort of thing. And one of the things that I realized was that as questions were being answered, it was often, responses often revolved around people not doing what they were supposed to do. Or nowhere during the time that we were together did I hear, at any point in time during the time we were together, and we were having this conversation, did I hear anything about the leaders not upholding their responsibility. And I asked the question, well, tell me about your leadership. And the room got quiet. So we started to talk about, tell me about the style. You know, how are you engaging your people? What do your engagement results say? Your engagement survey results say? And those sorts of things. And as we started to pull back the covers, we realized that there was a leadership issue. This led to me having an opportunity to coach a couple of leaders in the organization. And I will tell you just a little bit about the process that was used there. They took assessments. I'll give you an example of one. They took 5 assessments, DISC, 16 types, Enneagram, Strength Finders, in a portal. We got the results back. So we saw what the portal said about their leadership tendencies and traits and skills. So then I asked them to give me the names of some people in the organization that I could go out and talk to for about 15 minutes each. So I got these names and asked them to give me the introduction. They did. So I had these meetings. And I asked the people that I had the opportunity to speak with 3 questions. You know, what are Mike's strengths or his gifts? What would you say are his weaknesses or his soft spots? What else would you want Mike to know that you don't think he knows? So just 3 questions. So they shared with me, I probed, and I like doing that face-to-face or, you know, virtually, because it gives me an opportunity to probe. And I probed and I got some information. So I combined the information, met with the one particular leader, and it was similar for the second one, but met with the one particular leader. We looked at what was in the portal, the results of the assessments they took, and all the results were combined. So, you know, the person said, yes, these are some of the things that I need to work on. Yes, these are some of my strengths. I said, well, let me show you how this is showing up within your organization. So I started to share the feedback, the good, but then the constructive. And the individual broke down. I cannot believe that people said this about me. I can't believe, why didn't anyone tell me? I said, tell me, answer that question for me. Why didn't they tell you? Well, the reason was because there was a lot of fear in the organization. And because of that, people were doing just enough to get by. They'd quit and they remained on the payroll. So that led to, okay, we got to set some goals here to change. What are the 1 or 2, 3 goals that we're going to set that will allow you to have the greatest impact on your people? And we started to do those things and we worked together. And over time, slowly, we started to see a shift, not only in the behavior of this leader, but also in the results within that organization. Because he was showing up a different way.
Yeah.
So that, in my opinion, you got to start at the top.
You really do. And do you find it challenging to get past leaders' egos? Because many times the top dogs of the company have giant egos. And in dealing with athletes, you know, for as many years as I did an article once that was called something, confidence versus cocky. And there's a tipping point and a fine line there. You need really strong confidence to get to the top. But then sometimes it tips into what I say goes. And like you said, the employees were feeling fear. And so how do you get past that, the ego element?
Yeah. Ego is a problem. Edging God out is what I've heard ego described as a few times. But I would say this. You're right. Sometimes it takes being someone who's decisive, you're assertive, you want to get things done, but we cannot get anything done without other people. One leader cannot get it done. So I have found that getting people to step back and think about legacy. We're all mortal. We're going to die. At the end of this journey, you're looking back on your life. What do you want to see? You got to step back and sort of figure that out. Or say, you only had, and I'm a registered life planner too, and I went through something called the Kinder Institute to get this registration. And there are a series of questions that we ask people, but one of the questions that I often ask is, say you only have 24 hours left to live. What feeling comes across you when you face your very own real mortality? More importantly, what are those things you will miss doing, being, or seeing? And the goal here is to remind leaders that we're mortal. So you have an opportunity here to really help people and shift culture and change lives. And one of the ways to do that is just to be humble and have people work for you because they want to, not because they have to. But we've got to step back from all this ego, strong man type of, why are you doing what you're doing? Yeah. What is your purpose? Most people want to follow someone. They want, and they do, but you don't want them to follow because they're afraid of you. And those are the type of discussions that we have when we do these types of assessments that I just described earlier. We want to get to, how are you showing up on a daily basis? And how is that working for you now? In many cases, it's not working well. Well, you need feedback. You need someone to come along beside you and help you understand that maybe there's some things that are working. Let's keep doing those. But some of the things we've got to change. And being humble. I have a mentor who's about 93 years old, and he's seen a lot in his life throughout the world and done a lot of great things. But he says, the leaders that I have seen, that I've been exposed to, who were the most effective, are leaders who had that characteristic of humility. They were strong, they got things done, but they were humble people. They cared about people. And that is the thing that I like to go back to when I'm working with leaders. We got to focus on, how do we serve, assist, support, develop your people, and then empower them so that they can do what they're capable of doing. And it makes your life so much easier.
It really does. And I can contrast when I was in the working world with a job, and I always say job, not a job, but my best boss that I've ever had was, we kind of would shoot the breeze on Monday morning. We'd talk about, our favorite sports team. And then when, we get to work, and then he would put me in situations because he knew I was maybe on the timid side at the time. And so he would put me in situations outside my comfort zone. And yet he was right there to undergird me. And I knew I had that support. I will never forget him as a boss. And even, I don't know, that was 20 years ago, well, maybe 15, 20 years ago. But, I still recently just sent him an email saying, still, you were the best boss I've ever had. In contrast to when I moved to North Carolina from Southern California, and I was a senior admin assistant for a company. And the boss I supported, I don't know what his title was, I forget, a director or something. And then there were 5 PhDs. And then I was a support person for that. And this particular boss would write every single thing we said and did wrong on an Excel spreadsheet. And then when we would go in for reviews, he would go line by line by line and explain to us what we did wrong. And it was agonizing and terrible. And one of the PhDs, a woman, she was on antidepressants just because of his leadership. And so I've experienced it on both sides. And so what you're saying in that humility, and there's a term I know you're familiar with, servant leader, being willing to, like J.W. Marriott, sweeping the basement floors. You're willing to do anything when it's required. And kind of speak to that as far as just, should a leader of a company, a CEO, be willing to do anything in that company, or should they just lead people to do the little things?
Yes. In my opinion, you should, and you should be human. We're all human. I've had some experiences that have led me on this journey and to the place that I am today. And those experiences really, and what I've learned just through all my own research and study, have given me this perspective. But I almost punched my boss, my first job out of college. He was autocratic, hard nosed, do it because I say so type of person. And I lost my cool. Now, that's not the way I should have. This is an interesting story, but I'm not going to share it here because we don't have enough time. But it just led me to like, wait a minute, you have become what you have been around, because that was a culture within the manufacturing facility. And it just wasn't working. It was the people are, their second thought. We don't really need them. They're here and they're an afterthought. They're not as important to the process. And the quality reflected that. The organization really went out of business ultimately. The textile industry in the United States, because of poor quality, because people did not feel that they mattered. I feel, and I worked for a different company later on, where the owners, multi-billion-dollar company, they would come to manufacturing facilities and they would tell the leaders of that particular location, I don't want to spend any time with you yet till I go out and spend time with the people on the shop floor. Oh. I want to go around and talk to people doing the work, because they are the reason why we are who we are. And that model shifted my whole thinking. And they would also invest tons of money into getting leaders to be strong leaders, and leaders who understood the power of building relationships with people, certainly holding them accountable, but building relationships with people. So when you held them accountable, you had a relationship and it was much easier. So those things really helped me. And they also expected you, if a machine broke down and people were getting into the machine, moving product and that sort of thing, to jump in and help out. And I tended to do those types of things. And I saw for myself the difference that made in my relationship with the people that I had an opportunity to lead there. And that's something that stayed with me. That was relatively early in my career, but it stayed with me. That worked, and it has worked for me. And my last corporate job, I had about 125 people reporting to me with this organization that I work for, spread out across the country. And I work really hard, sometimes imperfectly, to lead well. And by leading well, I mean being a servant leader. I love that word, servant leader. Yeah. Because it's about us, not me as the leader. And if it's just about me, the results will not, they won't be there. We can do so much better if we work together. So that's my approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wish more companies would adapt that, because it's common for people to know about that, but it's so hard to go in when a company culture has been the same way for 30 years. You're not going to come in and just, upset the apple cart. The most dangerous words to me are, we've always done it this way.
Oh, yes, I've heard that before, and I hear that now in nonprofits and for-profit organizations as well. But if you really want the organization to serve your customers at the end of the day and the way that they deserve, and if you really want this organization to provide the quality of product that your customers and clients deserve, you got to take care of the people internally. You got to respect the people. You got to provide the opportunity for them to grow and make contributions, so that they're working because they want to, not because they have to. And as a leader, it's so important that we have a community of people who are willing to tell us what we need to hear rather than what they think we want to hear. We all need feedback, and we've got to model what it means to seek and accept that gift of feedback. I like to call feedback a gift that we should give, and it's one that we should all be willing to humbly receive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love Simon Sinek's book, and it's down here somewhere in my book library. It's Start With Why, because he talks about money. It will only motivate people so much. You have to, employees have to feel heard, seen, and appreciated. And that's what's going to create a long-term culture. They need intrinsic motivation, not just, okay, bonuses, okay, Christmas time off, okay, that's great. And everyone's excited about that. But long-term, you start with why, but you don't end up with why.
Yes. And you said something earlier that we should all keep in mind, and it's that you work for a leader who was a leader you respected. You had a really nice relationship with this person. And this was 10, 15 years ago, but you still remember that person and you still call that person from time to time. That's what I meant when I said legacy. Creating a legacy that lives on beyond your lifetime or your time with an individual or group? How do you lead well so that they can go out and really lead well too? And what does that really mean?
Exactly, yes. Do you ever work with solopreneurs or do you only work with companies?
I do work with solopreneurs. I am a solopreneur, really, in my financial planning practice, so I do. But the thing that I work with solopreneurs on, it ends up being this way, actually, more than just their business, it's their lives. I find that as a solopreneur, it's so easy to get things out of whack and work all the time, as opposed to taking time out for your health, for your family, for your faith, all those other areas that are just as important. And part of my story is almost working myself to death, hitting a wall at some point in my career where I've forgotten all of those things. So I get to work with leaders about really scheduling your priorities rather than prioritizing your schedule, and using your calendar in a way that allows you to be the best version of yourself when it comes to your business, but not just with your business, and all the other areas of life too. And that's what I find, where I find there's a need and there are opportunities.
Yeah, and there's two words that are two different camps, but they're really the same thing: work-life balance and work-life harmony. Do you have a preference of one of those, or do you have another word that you use to create that, and I'll use the word balance, but do you like balance, harmony, or do you have something else?
I like both of those, but I also like the word integration.
Oh,
Integrating
yeah.
all of life, integrating your faith, because one of the things that can happen so often is if we work and we only work, we lose, again, our health.
Mhm.
Family can be family challenges. It can be financial challenges is something that I've seen a lot of. Okay, I'm going to dedicate my life to the business and I'm going to make a lot of money. The money comes in, it goes out. You haven't taken the time to manage it well, or you haven't taken the time to select really good advisors because you're so busy. Advisors who are going to be fiduciaries. They're going to do what's in your best interest. And I've seen some of those types of things. So I like the integration. Let's integrate it all. And even in my work, let me not forget these other areas because they can make me a much better business owner, solopreneur, business leader in my organization. And I know that has worked well for me, running two quote unquote businesses, one with my wife, one myself, being able to really integrate all of life. And the other thing I will add, Michelle, is investing my time rather than spending it. So being
Yes, I
intentional
love
about
that. Mhm.
how I use my time and taking the time to think has really been transformational in my own life and in others that I know.
Oh no, that has been that was one of the tipping points for me. And often I forget it, but it's investing versus spending. We can spend an hour watching The Office, 2 hours watching The Office or binge watching something, but are we investing an hour reading a book or listening to an audiobook or something like that? So that investing versus spending, and just asking before every task, am I spending time or am I investing time? And I love your word integration because both of us are people of faith, and my faith permeates everything I do. An attitude of prayer is woven into everything I do, no matter what it is: business, personal, church, everything. And that has to that's a fixed item. It's,
Yes.
you know
Yes. Yes. And living on purpose. And that's God's got a purpose for all of our lives. I think it's like
Yes.
in the Bible, Psalms 138:8, the Lord fulfill his purpose for me, his love endures forever. But living on purpose. And when we're living on purpose, it's hard to do that if you're not integrating all of life.
Yeah, very, very true. And I want to turn a slight corner and just talk about you and your wife working together, being married so long, and I know you do separate tasks, but how is that? Have you found that to be just harder because you're always talking about business, or do you both have a cutoff time and put boundaries around your work, each of your work? And so you have that, okay, we're going out on the date night, we're going on a weekend, we're going on, whatever it is, and you put a boundary up there: no work talk. Do you do that?
Yeah. So for the two of us, we have, so I'll start by saying at this stage for us, really it's about making a difference in the lives of people, using the skills, the gifts that we've been given. And we are doing this out of, I think I would call it mission and ministry at this stage of our lives, because we could be doing other things, but we really enjoy helping people. So we have to keep reminding each other why we're doing what we're doing. So we have a lot of freedom, a lot of time to do the things that matter most to us. But when it comes to working together, my wife has certain strengths, gifts, and weaknesses or soft spots. I have certain strengths, gifts, weaknesses, and soft spots. So one of the things that we realize is that we have to talk through, okay, how can I be most helpful? How can you be most helpful? And what should I be doing? What should you be doing? And that's especially true in Right Path Enterprises. And we've got a nice rhythm now. And we both are involved in different nonprofit organizations. And one that we are involved in the same organization, but we're in different clubs. But we go to each other's events, we support each other as we're doing those types of things as well. So for us, it's not perfect, but it's a work in progress. And I find that every day we're growing in that. But the goal is patience, especially for me, being patient and taking the time to spend time together, as you talked about. A lot of times it's not planned, but there are days where let's go to dinner tonight, or we're now looking to plan trips for this year, for the remainder of the year. So we're working on that. And the other thing that is really important is to celebrate successes. As we have things that work, which I've struggled at a large portion of my life, and I actually wrote a book called Leaderfluence, and the last chapter of the book is why it's important to celebrate success. But that's something I'm still working at. So my wife helps me with that too. But the goal here is just to really step back and make sure we are patient with each other. We are supporting each other where we have the opportunity from a gifting and strength standpoint. And that we are, if there's something that I can, if there's something that I find like an opportunity, I had an opportunity that was a great opportunity. A client reached out to me about some help with some curriculum design. It was an international project. I understand it, can do it, have no interest in it, but I asked my wife to lead that project. So she led it. And for her, she came alive. It was a wonderful project, pulled some other people in, but just being intentional about looking for those types of opportunities and then sharing them as they come through. But the key here is patience. And this is one of those areas where faith plays a huge role, Michelle. Understanding the role of marriage, what marriage really is all about, and making sure that we don't forget from a faith standpoint that God is really leading us both. And we've got to have a level of humility and concern for each other as we're doing this together. Because at the end of the day, it's for him and the people we serve, not for us.
Yeah, exactly. Do you put boundaries? Both of you put boundaries up where after a certain time of night, we don't take any calls, any business calls, or certain times of the weekend? I take Sunday off. I don't work. I don't answer calls. I don't do anything except go to church and come home and rest and eat. And so I take that. But do you and your wife put boundaries to where you push out those distractions so you can have, quality time together?
Yes. We say no a lot, like a lot more. So we say no to certain things. But for me, I have a calendar. So I use a calendar. And my calendar, you can schedule time with me on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. On Tuesdays and Thursdays from about noon till around 6. And on Wednesdays from around noon till around 8. Mondays and Fridays, I leave open and protected for me. So you can't schedule time. If there's something I want to tie up, I do that. The weekends are normally pretty much open for us. We leave that for ourselves. But then there are times we've done things on the weekends. But for me, the primary days are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And Monday and Friday are my days to schedule as I choose, or for us to do things that we want to do together. And my business is a lot busier than my wife, so it's more of a control mechanism for me. She's got a lot more flexibility.
Okay. Yeah. And that makes sense. And, I have to be honest, even as a solopreneur, I've been single for 23 years. And so I still have to put, even though it's just me and I could answer business texts and emails, well, I'm an early bird as far as I go to bed early, get up early, but I have the freedom to do that, but I don't take any calls on, like I said, Sundays. I try to work until, a certain time on Saturdays. just because I can and I want to, but I put boundaries in because I want to stress that to all the singles out there, and especially the mature singles like I am, is that you still have to put up those boundaries. You still have to say no to create that harmonious, a balanced life, because it's too easy to just be consumed with everything and just think you're going to be more successful because you're answering an email or a text at 9 o'clock at night. You have to train clients when you're available and what you're willing and not willing to do and communicate.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. If you're not whole, there's no way you can run your business in a efficient, effective,
Yeah.
profitable way. We have to make sure we're investing our time well, but we're also investing in ourselves. And that takes being a little bit selfish. And when we're selfish, it's really out of concern for our clients. Because if I'm selfish, I'm taking care of myself, I'm integrating my life, I'm going to be much better with my clients than if I wasn't, especially as a solopreneur. I know early on when I started the financial planning practice, I was working too many hours. But I realized that because I have accountability in my life, not only my wife, but I have some friends, we hold each other accountable. And that helped me like level set. Okay, let me step back here and plan better. And it changed things. It really did. And that's the other thing, as solopreneurs, oftentimes we're alone. Well, we need a small community of people
Yes.
who can help us stay focused. And if you don't have a community out, if those listening don't have a small community or an accountability partner or coach, I would encourage you to make the effort to find one, because it can be really beneficial.
It sure can. Yes, I've been the recipient of some coaching through the years, and it does. I'm more likely to do things just because I know someone's going to ask about it. And it does. It really has kept me on track. So to your point there, like if to go to both points, if a company or a solopreneur, like when they feel they've just been grinding and they've been working at it and just, for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and all of a sudden they feel like I don't have it anymore. I don't have it in me. And they're starting to lose that motivation. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say, so there are a number of things that I could say here, but one of the things that I have learned, and I learned this when I hit the wall early on in my career. I was a guy who was high potential guy in corporate America, getting a lot of experience, a lot of opportunities in the States and getting to travel a little bit overseas, but I was working too much. I almost worked myself to death, working 50, 60 hours a week, 70 hours. I mean, it made no sense. And I hit a wall. But one of the things that I have learned is that I've got to step back and realize, what do I want in my life? Why do I want it? What am I willing to do to get it? What will it take to get it? Who's going to hold me accountable? How will I feel when I get it? And how am I going to help someone and get what they're struggling to find? So those types of things. But one of the things that led me to was this whole purpose, finding my purpose. So getting a vision of what I want to see at the end of my life, when I'm looking back over my life, getting clarity on the people the roles that I play in my life, who do I play those roles with? What would I want them to say about me at the end? Like the boss that you work with, what are you going to say about this person? So thinking about that, but then getting a vision of what that looks like and developing a clear idea of my purpose, which is my why, vision as a what, and then developing a mission statement that encompasses all that. I find that very few people have a mission statement that they can recite at any point in time if someone were to ask them what it is. I've seen this a number of times when I've spoken and I ask groups of people who are quote unquote successful, what is the mission statement of your organization? And a number of people were able to share it. I'd ask the question, could someone share their personal mission statement? And I find consistently that it's only around 3% of the people in the room.
Wow.
So getting a mission statement can allow you then, how am I going to walk out this purpose that I'm on? How do I make decisions? If I'm working how do I make decisions?
Yeah.
That to me is the powerful piece here, living on mission. Then when you're working, you're going to think differently because you understand, okay, at some point it's all going to end and I want to be intentional. And intentionality is a big piece of this. I want to be intentional about how I'm investing my short amount of time on earth, how I'm investing my life. And that, to me, then you get into that discussion of, okay, your schedule and all those other things, but let's determine what matters most to us. And let's make sure that we're living our lives and running our businesses and engaging our family and friends and integrating our faith and all those other things in a way that allows me to be that person.
Oh, that's so profound. And it's so true, because purpose marries intentionality. And that's where you get things done. And I have to say, I created a PowerPoint, an elaborate PowerPoint strategy for 2024. And I have a mission statement, I have a purpose, I have what I want to accomplish in the 7 areas of my life, you know, spiritually, vocationally, all that. And I have so many, in capital letter, dones in front, you know, or behind a lot of those things, because I look at, and I put music to it and the whole thing. It's the most elaborate one I've ever done. And you know what? I have gotten more done this year, and I've just been so much more productive because of that. So what you say with purpose and intentionality, they have to be intertwined if you want to make anything happen.
Yes. Yes. Congratulations, Michelle. Thanks for sharing that. It inspires me.
Okay.
And hopefully the audience, everyone listening in, it inspires you. And really it encourages you, inspires you to go do something similar if you haven't done that already. But that is so true. It's just taking the time to think. We have so much coming at us. We've got the cell phones now. We've got all the different social media sites. If we don't take the time to think, we can be led in directions that we really don't consciously want to go if we were conscious.
Yes.
So taking the time to think is so important.
Yes. And you know what? We were sold a bill of goods with these things. It's going to save you time. It's going to, you know, all the good things it was supposed to do. And you know what? It connects us better. I mean, when I watch classic old shows and I think, oh, just, you know, they didn't have cell phones. They, you know, they did things differently. When you're stuck, you're stuck. But these things, we were sold a bill of goods, and it has, to me, done nothing but distract us. And often you try to carry on a conversation with somebody and their head, yeah, blah, 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 you know, and it's just so disheartening. You know, put down the phone and look me in the eye.
Yes, yes, yes. You know, it's like with a lot of things we have access to these days. AI is another that's coming. All the things we have
Yes.
access to, there are really good things about them.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that aren't so good.
Yes.
What we've got to do is figure out how can this work best for me when it comes to me being able to live the life that I was created to live. But it comes back to thinking, and then exercising a little bit of discipline and getting some accountability in your life, and just continue to remind yourself of what matters most to you. Because you're right, it can distract us from
Mm-hmm.
life, really, if we're not careful. And I'm hearing stories about 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds and how they're being led and some of the things they're getting exposed to. And it's you know, it can be troubling.
Yeah, it really can. And I like the simplicity of, you know, having and I don't know that I have ever done it, but I like the idea of having a cell phone free day, taking a vacation from a cell phone. Maybe we're kind of tethered to them in certain ways, but just, I'm going to spend an hour. I'm going to turn my phone off, God forbid, you know, for an hour. And we think, oh, the world's going to blow up or our brain's going to blow up. We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
We will be more than okay. We'll probably be better.
But be better, yes. So my final question to you, Mike, is where do you see Right Path and your financial planning businesses? Where do you see them in the next 2 to 3 years?
So I will start with Kelly Financial Planning. I see that continuing to grow, and it's growing because there are not enough people doing advice only or hourly fee only financial planning advice. I don't take custody of assets. So more and more people are looking for people who just provide advice and they want to go out and take the actions themselves. So I'm doing that. I've got to figure out how much I want to do. So I'm processing that. Do I want to scale? Don't I? One of the things I'm thinking about is partnering with a couple of young people who have a similar passion for life and financial planning and helping them get started. So that is where I see Kelly Financial Planning over the next 2 years. I see the waiting list continuing to sort of grow a little bit. And the amount of time it takes for me to really get through business to grow, which is fine. But I also see myself finding ways to invest in some other people who have an interest in doing this type of work. So I guess you could call that scaling a little bit, but a managed scaling, because I don't want to work too much. And with Right Path Enterprises, I would say something similar. I would say that my wife and I doing projects that we enjoy that allow us to integrate, when it comes to the things that matter most to us, helping companies, certainly, helping people, helping leaders grow, helping companies find a mission or purpose if they don't have one, helping leaders become whole. All those things are important. And I will tell you this, for both of these companies, I don't know how much, probably a lot less as I continue to age, but we could do this the rest of our lives because it's part of what our missions.
Yeah. And that's to know when you're in your sweet spot, when you're doing what your purpose is and you're purpose driven, you could do it the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that's really, I feel the same thing about what I do. I could do it the rest of my life. My heart jumps for joy, as I'm sure yours does, when you get a company or a solopreneur that says, man, I need help.
Yes. Well, it reminds me again of my mission, being on mission. And I shared my mission statement, and it's really to help others become all they're designed to be. And that can mean anything. We want to get clear on what that is as we're working together, but helping people succeed. But one of the things that we get caught up in sometimes around this word succeed or success is defining success in a way that might not be aligned with what we really would like. For example, when you hear success, oftentimes you think of, and this was true for me, pleasure, prosperity, power, prestige, position. Is that really success in and of itself? Success is so much more than just those things. So helping people define success, get a vision of that, and then to achieve true and authentic success is something that I'm excited about as well, passionate about.
Yeah, that is, and I'm super excited about that. And I just want you to tell everybody or share where people can find you, and I'll put all these links in the show notes, but tell people where they can connect with you.
Yes. So I'm on LinkedIn, Mike Kelly on LinkedIn. I'm there. I'm on Facebook as well. Got on Twitter, not as active there, but I'm on Twitter. You can connect with me there. But we've got two websites, take the right path, rightpathenterprises.com. And then at kellyfinancialplanning.com, KELLY financialplanning.com. And there, if someone wants to schedule, you can get access to my schedule and you can find out more about the company and both companies on the site.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I've got a book too that can be found on Amazon, Leaderfluence, Secrets of Leadership, Essential to Effectively Leading Yourself and Positively Influencing Others. And it can also be ordered from the Right Path Enterprises website. Okay,
great. And I thought of one more question before I let you go. What do you and your wife like to do for fun? Let's do just a super fun question. What do you guys like to do for adventure and, when you're not working?
We enjoy traveling. So we enjoy traveling. We enjoy trying different types of foods. We enjoy reading. She's a reader. I'm a reader. We enjoy being active, exercise. So that's something else that we enjoy. And then we enjoy serving. Serving has been a really good thing for us. Going to certain events, finding causes that we care about and getting involved. And that's been something that we enjoy. And we see that as part of our, certainly service, but our leisure.
That's awesome. Well, Mike, I want to thank you so much for being here today and being a guest and sharing all these nuggets of gold that you shared. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Michelle. Thank you again for having me, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. Please keep making a difference because the world desperately needs your gifts.
Thank you very much. And I will tell everybody all these links and everything will be in the show notes. And until next time, thank you for watching another episode of Winning Proof Unscripted.